When participating in any exercise program, there is a possibility of physical injury and an increased load on the heart, which may result in dizziness, shortness of breath, and in extreme circumstances may result in a heart attack. If you experience any dizziness or pain, stop exercising immediately and seek medical attention as required. By participating in this exercise program, you agree to freely accept all associated risks, dangers, and hazards. The governors of the University of Alberta, their officers, employees, and volunteers are not responsible for any injury or loss of any kind sustained by you while participating. Consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. Hi, I'm Chelsea with Campus and Community Recreation, and I coordinate the group fitness programs here for the department. And we're going to be going through a natural flow combination of movements. So it's going to be 4 movements that we'll run through once, and then you can repeat those 4 things on your own time 2 to 5 times after that. Okay, so we're going to be moving into a combination of movements, natural flow. This can be a little bit more of a restorative practice, or it could be an actual workout, just depending on your level of skill and conditioning. So it's meant to be sort of accessible to everybody. The first movement that we're going to move into is a deep squat with a reach. So there's a few different ways we can do this, and I'll show you a few variations. So we're going to take a wide stance and just come down into a deep squat. So as you can see, my heels lift in this deep squat position, and that's totally fine. From here, we're just going to reach for one shin and reach up towards the ceiling, pausing for 2 seconds. I'm going to reach to the other side, to the other direction, reach up towards the ceiling, come back to center, and then I'm going to inhale to stand. So one way we can bolster this movement, if you have tight ankles, it could be a hip or knee limitation as well, so you don't have to necessarily come down so low. But if I just have these foam blocks, you can use rolled up yoga mats or blankets, then you can come right down into that deep squat. So then I can easily reach up with my heels grounded down onto something, reach up with that other arm, and then inhale to stand. So we're going to do 10 repetitions that way. Another way we can do that is if you have a weighted object. So I have a kettlebell here. You can use a milk jug or a dumbbell or some type of weight if you have that mobility limitation. So I'm just going to come down into that deep squat. I'm not going to reach on each side, and then I'm going to inhale to stand and just reach up and overhead. So this is just one other variation, coming down into that deep squat and then reaching up overhead. So just 10 repetitions per side. So we'll just set this up, coming down, reach, and stand. Inhaling down. Ensure that we're breathing, relaxing through the shoulders, nice and long through the spine. A little bit of tension through the core. You can use your hands as counterbalance. So you're just coming up for 5 squats. So from that deep squat to a stand. So again, if you don't have any props or objects at your space, that's totally fine. The second of the 4 movements that we're going to do is we're going to move into a get-up sequence. So in the warm-up, we did work on rocking. So we're going to just change this a little bit. We're going to rock, coming up into this figure 4 position. Tall split kneeling position. I'm going to tuck my back toes under, and then I'm going to launch or stand up to standing. I'm going to come down the same way that I came up. I'm going to rock back. So coming up, taking the back toes to tuck under, and I'm going to stand up. So we're going to repeat that 3 times. Stepping back into that lunge position, lowering that back knee with control, coming back down, using the arms to counterbalance, and we'll just make this a little bit more smooth. 3 times per side. So I'm kind of rotating the knee, pushing off of the ball of the back foot, coming back down the same way we came up. And so this is a more efficient way of getting up. So we're using our core, using that body weight transfer to create that momentum. And then we're getting up without using our hands, which there's some interesting science linked to longevity if we can get up from the ground without using our hands. Standing up. So that is our second movement that you're going to repeat, so 3 times per side. Next, we're gonna come back down onto the mat, finding again that knee-hand position. So wrists, again, right underneath the shoulders, knees come back underneath the hips. And I'm just gonna start by reaching one arm up to come into 3 points of support. So we want to keep the shoulders square to the floor. So if I were to lift one arm, I don't want that side of the rib cage to drop back down. I got to hold tension through the core. And then I'm going to extend the opposite leg. So we call this the contralateral reach. Contralateral just means opposite hand, opposite foot. So I'm just going to go 5 per side in this contralateral orientation. You'll notice that to keep the hips and shoulders square to the floor, that you do have to maintain that tension through the trunk to resist the rotation of the spine. So this is going to prepare us for crawling, the hand-foot crawl that we'll introduce later on in the series. So we're going to go 10 times per side with that contralateral reaching. Once you've completed that, we're going to come or maintain that knee-hand position. Toes will be tucked, and I'm just going to elevate the knees to a hover above the floor. So holding tension through the trunk, we're just building some strength and some endurance here. You can start for 10 seconds and maybe work up your way to 45 or 50 seconds. But again, it's going to start building that core strength. And this is the position that we'll be in when we're actually moving or locomoting in that foot hand crawl. So starting with 10 seconds, holding up to 45. And then the last movement that we'll work on is the tripod transition. So I'm going to start here in this half bent long sit position. So one knee bent, one leg straight. The same arm as the straight leg is going to be your post. So the first thing we need to do is just depress the shoulder down and away from the ear to have good shoulder position. I'm going to elevate the hip up off of the floor, and you can just try that a few times. So if you're newer to tripod transitions, just work on that shoulder down and lifting the hip. From here, we're going to take that extended leg, pull it in, snake it under the body, and bring ourselves into this knee-hand position, knees tap down. I'm going to elevate the knees up off of the floor, kick that same leg through, and come back to the original position. So that's one repetition on one side. We'll switch over and go on the other side. So again, shoulder down, leg extended, arm posted, same as the extended leg. And we're just going to start with elevating the hip a few times, just to kind of get that feeling of lifting our body away from the ground. The other arm stays nice and relaxed. I'm going to pull that extended leg under and in, tap the knees down, toes tucked, elevate the knees, kick that same leg through. So we're going to move 3 per side. Let's go back to the other side, shoulder down, elevate the hip, pull the leg in, knees tap, knees lift, and then back out. Switching it again, shoulder down, pull that leg in. So just as best you can, moving nice and slowly and controlled. It's challenging at first if it feels kind of like ratchety. As you get more familiar and more comfortable with the movement, it'll become smoother, but don't try to rush it. We want to build that efficiency by moving slowly with control. Ensure that we're breathing. So that's 3 per side. So that's our first natural flow combination. You'll move through that another 2 to 4 times on your own for a total of 3 to 5 repetitions through that combination of movements.